Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And another best of the week video featuring news and events from the world of heavyweight boxing. And we'll first start with Tyson Fury, who has issued a message to Alexander Usyk and his management ahead of their rematch in December. So you can see here on screen, this is Tyson Fury's post. He says, "You had your shot but couldn't finish the job. Mistake. Now you're about to feel the wrath of a menace." And then he goes on to tell Usyk, Igor Klimas and Alexander Krassyuk, that is the management and promoter for Alexander Usyk, to basically go do something to themselves. So he says, "Gypsy King 2024 coming for you. December 21 is mine. Me against the world. Incoming 3-time heavyweight champ." And I like to see these sorts of posts because obviously that was a loss that I'm sure was quite hard for Tyson Fury to handle. I know that a lot of people seem to be a little bit bitter that maybe he got the rub of the green. Potentially the fight could have been stopped. And Fury says, and has said since that fight, he believes he won and that he should have got the decision. I think for a lot of impartial viewers, I mean, that was, I think, a relatively clear-cut fight to score for Usyk. I mean, Tyson Fury, he had a good spot between round 4 and 7, but most of the rest of the time it was pretty much all Alexander Usyk. And obviously a huge round 9 where he had Tyson Fury staggering from rope to rope, from corner to corner. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do, how he can turn it around. Is he going to be able to better utilize some of his natural attributes? Because he didn't necessarily use the jab maybe as much, we thought, as a weapon as maybe he could have. Maybe wasn't as physical as he could have been. But then again, Alexander Usyk is an elusive target, so it's easier said than done. But sticking with Tyson Fury, so he said that he still believes, regardless of what happens, that in the rest of his career, he thinks that Joshua is going to be an opponent for him. Anthony Joshua, I should say. He says, "Joshua knows he's getting it. Even if we're 50 years old, he's got to fight me. There's no escaping it. He cannot escape me. Even if we're 50, we're still going to sell out Wembley." So I hope this isn't some sort of play to, well, maybe they'll retire in the next few years and then do a comeback tour in 10 or 15 years, kind of like Mike Tyson and a few others have done in recent years. I would still rather see them fight at this point of their career rather than way in the future. But it's, you know, boxing, anything can and does happen. And Anthony Joshua, his promoter Eddie Hearn, has said of a potential rematch with Daniel Dubois, which it had been said that there was a rematch by Eddie Hearn, but then he kind of walked it back a bit. Then he's now saying, and this was to Fight Hub, that if it happens next, it's going to be taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Hearn explained that he expects AJ to make a final decision on his next move within the next couple of weeks. So still a little unclear, is there a rematch clause or not, because pretty strident on it to begin with in the post-fight interview, and then since then it's been talked down. Frank Warren had said there was not a rematch clause, but he was potentially open to a rematch. So I guess money-wise and potential tickets, that sort of stuff, well, they're just thinking it's going to make bank again. But then again, if it's in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, maybe the purses offset the lack of a physical crowd. I don't know. It looks like Murat Gassiev is going to be back on October the 19th. It's being reported that he will face Kem Ljungquist, who's currently 18-0, on a card in Austria. This post here says Australia, but it's definitely Austria, and this will be an IBA card in association with Patriot Boxing and Iron and Gloves Promotions. So Murat Gassiev, he had that real stinker against Otto Wallin, and he needs a good comeback, a good performance. And Kem Ljungquist is a guy who, while he's got height and some okay skills on his side, he kind of has been holding on to that O, and at any real level he gets beaten, in my opinion. Been following him for some considerable time. He certainly, I think, has a ceiling in Murat Gassiev. If he's got anything about him, he needs to go in there and do a number, take that O, try to get himself back in the heavyweight picture. It's been announced by Top Rank that prospects Damian Knyba and also Ali Feliz will be back on the same card versus different opponents, and this will be in November, the 2nd of November to be exact, and this will be on the Conceição Oshaki Foster rematch card. And the press release actually says that you're going to have Knyba taking on Richard Lartey. So to me, that almost seems like a waste of time. Gone is the Richard Lartey that we saw against Daniel Dubois, 4 or 5 years ago, and a version we've seen more recently who seems to be taking dives all over the world. So I'm not thinking that's going to be much chop. And then it says further down that you've got Ali Feliz, who's currently at 3-0. He will be fighting Rashad Coulter. So yeah, don't expect much from that fight. That is a prospect level fight. Knyba, he is a little bit more advanced. Currently was he 13-0. So yeah, make of it what you will. Mike Belligan, who stopped Trey Lippy Morrison a few years ago and actually lost to Murat Gassiev in his only career loss not so long ago. That was Gassiev's comeback fight. He has called boxing promoter and manager Tony Holden a clown on social media, and this is after Tony Holden had posted, after careful consideration, I've made the difficult decision to postpone the Morrison vs. Belligan fight. Kenzie has shown unwavering dedication to his training. However, I believe it is essential to provide further training and sparring to match the caliber of this fight. I take full responsibility for this decision and am committed to ensuring Kenzie's safety and success in the ring. So those who don't know or forgot, Belligan fought his brother Trey Lippy Morrison on a Triller card and starched him in a round in 2021. Back in the days when Triller was still running cards, you might recall that fight. I think maybe Michael Hunter might have been on the same card that night. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, both the Morrison brothers certainly look to have had a ceiling. That night it was found by Mike Belligan, and he probably would have also beaten Kenzie Morrison in this fight as well. But yeah, so obviously things may be not perfect in training, and the sparring maybe not going as well as Tony Holden thought. So at least he's making a responsible decision for his fighter. But Belligan, obviously, with the clown emoji, does not like it. Probably feels he's missed out here. Dusan Veletic, he will be returning later this month, 19th of October, and this will be in Germany versus Thomas Salek. DeAndre Savage, the American heavyweight prospect, currently 6-0, but he's had 8 fights, 2 no contest. He has been in camp with Jake Paul. So interesting week for DeAndre Savage, because posting this, obviously you're getting a little bit of shine off that. At the same time, the 6-0 prospect, he's also entered the WBA rankings. Number 15, as you can see here. So basically, there's really nothing on the record to indicate he should be, or it's appropriate for him to be in a top 15 of any sanctioning body. But I guess it's the WBA, so anything can and does happen. Perhaps a brown envelope or two had passed hands. You also have Boma Brown, so the prospect, British prospect, who is out of the Frank Warren stable on the Ball Rios card. He's had a win inside 6 rounds, and this is against Amin Bouchetta. And this punch here was either just before or after he lands an uppercut, which effectively ended the night. So Boma Brown remains undefeated. And perhaps a story or a comment I didn't think I'd ever be making about the British prospect, or amateur, I should say, Delicious Orie, who is a former Commonwealth Games gold medalist and also a recent Olympian. He dipped out on the medals in Paris, knocked out pretty early. But as you can see here, and there's a Sky story from an interview, I have a huge decision to make, boxing or WWE. Delicious Orie says he's currently considering the next step in his career, and an offer from WWE is very much an option. And if you haven't listened to this clip, and you can find it obviously on Twitter and their website as well, it sounds like it's a legitimate, serious offer. I mean, I guess in terms of the current amateurs coming through, you know, here's a guy that logically he should be turning over soon, unless he's going to try go again and stay in the amateur system. And he's now got a decision to make. I don't think many boxers this early in their careers, you know, before they've turned over, would have actually had this sort of offer presented to them. So it's interesting and kind of strange and bizarre at the same time. But he's a big, tall guy, ripped, and maybe they see that he can portray some sort of character. And with the name Delicious Orie, maybe that they can work with that as well. I don't know, but this is a sort of strange sort of story. But also, because he's considering it so heavily, does it indicate that maybe he doesn't think his pro career is going to pan out to the same level as some of his predecessors? Remembering 2012, Anthony Joshua, gold. Joe Joyce, 2016, silver. Fraser Clark, 2020-21, those games delayed a year. Bronze medal. Delicious Orie, no medal. So, yeah, make of it what you will. Interesting times for Delicious Orie, and we'll have to see what he does. But what do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.